Happy spooky Halloween! It's Paul. I wanted to tell you a little something. It's not going to be easy to put this in any way whatsoever, but I think I've discovered that Prince is a vampire. Or was a vampire, and now he's dead. And I've drawn this mind map here of connections that lead me to believe that he is a vampire. And I'm just going to take this time right now to explain some of the drawings and connections on this map. I think I'm going to start off with, up here, we have his characteristics. Telepathy. There's a lot of people have reported that he was telepathic, psychic. In his album Artificial Age, he wrote a song about, him being revived after being in suspended animation for 45 years, and when he wakes up, he speaks telepathically to his handler. He sounds like a pretty hot woman. We have he wrote a song with Deborah Allen in the 80s called Telepathy, and if you watch the video for that, it's really creepy, really uncharacteristic for Prince. It starts off with the image of a Ouija board. There's candles and circles and all kinds of weird crap. He was really fast, incredibly facile, dexterous dancer. He just had a crazy way of moving all the time. One lady in, I think it was Wendy Williams, was saying that, or somebody was saying that he was able to run in high heels like she'd never seen before, which is pretty crazy. He's pale. He started out pretty dark in his early years and eventually just kept getting paler and paler. Was androgynous, which is a common theme in vampires. You always see guys in these vampire movies looking real metrosexual, and he was the king of that. He was the ideal of both male and female qualities. His symbol was androgynous, the Prince glyph. Super intelligent. He revolutionized business, music, fashion, business law. Was able to completely make the music business bend to his will. He was strong. He could jump from high rises and high heels, and he did this for years. Astoundingly. He was psychic. I know he came to me in a dream at one point. L.A. Reid said at one point Prince told him that the elevator in Let's Go Crazy symbolized the devil, and this devil is what this elevator is what he was found dead in at the end of his life, so that's kind of creepy. He wouldn't allow himself to be photographed, even in private. Charlemagne the God talked about how he came in for an interview, and then at the end of the interview, he wouldn't let Charlemagne photograph him, to Charlemagne's chagrin. But as Prince was walking out of the studio, Charlemagne noticed that he looked like he was floating 6 to 8 inches off the ground, and so he took a picture, without letting Prince know, and then like a little later, the picture went black on his phone and he couldn't see it anymore, so that's kind of strange. Wendy Williams had a similar experience with people saying that the images that they took at the concert went black. He said in a Rolling Stone interview that he would go for days without eating. He said people would have to remind him. He would not drink water, even. They said he didn't sleep before he died. He went for 6 days without sleeping before he died. He didn't age. I mean, if you look at a lot of the pictures up until he died, he looked great. He looked the same as he ever did. And back to the didn't sleeping part. Apparently, like, people in his bands have reported that he would stay up for 3 days at a time, playing music, recording, never stopping recording. He would just keep moving constantly the whole time. He was connected, and I think this is some of the biggest stuff that led me to believe what I'm talking about now. He's connected to drugs, he's connected to powerful people, he's connected to Egyptian symbolism and the occult. And I think this is the crux of it. He's connected to powerful people, and he's connected to Aleister Crowley. So what almost every person that I've written down here has in common is they're all connected to Aleister Crowley, which is Egyptian occult symbolism and ritual practices, and drugs. They're all somehow connected to drugs, and they're all somehow connected to Aleister Crowley. And let's start over here. Okay, Prince was a vampire. I don't know if you can see this, but Prince was a vampire. And what got me started on all of this, which is what I think is just a huge vampire ring. I think I've happened upon a vampire ring. Prince was a vampire. Prince and David Bowie apparently were friends. At one of Prince's last concerts, he covered a David Bowie song, which I thought was interesting, so I decided to find out if they were friends, and he said, "We were the best of friends. He was the kind of friend that I could talk to about anything." And he had a funny joke about how Bowie would just tell him to Google things, and that's hilarious. But apparently they actually did talk. They both referenced being resurrected from the dead in their albums. Bowie references it in his album Black Star, which over here there's a big Black Star mess. He references it in his Black Star album as the character of Lazarus. One of the songs is called Lazarus, and as we all know, the Bible story, Lazarus was the sick person that Jesus resurrected 4 days after he died. And as I said earlier, Prince in his album Artificial Age talks about being resurrected in 45 years when he can speak telepathically. So he doesn't explain where or what or how he got 45 years in the future, but that's a connection. They've both talked about being resurrected. Heavy use of Egyptian mystery imagery. Bowie was constantly talking about all-seeing eyes. In his album Hunky Dory, the liner notes, he's dressed up as an Egyptian pharaoh. Aleister Crowley has an almost identical picture of himself. And we all know Aleister Crowley is the beast. He signs his letters with 666, the mark of the beast. We all know David Bowie was a complete coke fiend, psychopath, coke fiend. His Thin White Duke character came out of his period where he was on his white diet, which consisted of milk, red bell peppers, and cocaine, and that's all he ate. He talked about hallucinating 24/7. He doesn't remember creating the album that the Thin White Duke character was the main character of, Station to Station. He just was in such a daze. But the Thin White Duke character, one of the albums is, one of the lyrics rather is, the return of the Thin White Duke throwing darts in lovers' eyes. So at least he was seriously sadistic. Making sure it stings. He's like, okay, yeah, so it's a guy that takes pleasure in other people's pain. David Bowie played a vampire in The Hunger. Oh, that's interesting. Vampire in Hunger in 1983. What else happened in 1983? Purple Rain came out, which is Prince's most popular album. And Michael Jackson's Thriller came out in 1983, which is really interesting. Thriller is Michael Jackson's horror album, and it shows him turning into a werewolf in it, and he has Vincent Price in there, who's like the king of horror movies. Vincent Price, I'm pretty sure, played a vampire at one point. And Michael Jackson's connected to Aleister Crowley in that he has, in his video, Remember the Time, he dressed as like an Egyptian pharaoh, and he has all kinds of weird magical crap in there. He's paranoid, thought people were out to get him. He wrote a song about morphine in the Blood is on the Dance Floor album. Blood is on the Dance Floor. The album cover, if you look at it, it's a Masonic checkerboard pattern, black and white. And it's got a song about morphine on it. Interesting, Michael. And you look like a vampire. You look like a ghoul. Your skin is pale, yet you're a black guy. That's insane. It's interesting. Aleister Crowley was the Mark of the Beast, 666. If you turn Prince's album cover over, the 1999 album, you see that the 1 for 99 turns into a downward penis, and then you have the 666, and then Prince, the word Prince turns into evil. So Aleister Crowley, 666, Aleister Crowley also teaches his followers to learn how to write upside down and backwards. Another interesting thing about Prince and David Bowie is they both had the same tailor. The same tailor in Hong Kong. The tailor's named Sam's Tailor. And, oh wow, other people that are ultra rich, powerful, and connected to drugs frequent this place as well. Let's see, who do we have? We have Bill Clinton, we have Jeb Bush, we have George H.W. Bush, former head of the CIA. Bill Clinton involved in countless drug scandals. His brother Roger Clinton, convicted of possession of cocaine. We have George W. Bush, who admitted to taking cocaine and was in the Skull and Bones, along with his father. Skull and Bones was in large part funded by opium money that came out of Hong Kong in the 1800s. Okay, so we're getting back to drugs. Prince, David Bowie, drugs. The Beach Boys, who were closely associated with Charles Manson in the Laurel Canyon area of LA, and were psychopathic drug users. Also closely associated with all the royal families of Europe go to the same tailor. And so royal families of Europe, does that include the Prince of England? I'm pretty sure it does. The Prince of England said he is a direct descendant of Count Dracula. Wow, interesting. You really want to claim that? You want to claim that that great guy that dismembered his subjects and drank the blood was such a great guy? Okay, great, yeah. Not the name of this person wasn't Count Dracula, but there's video on YouTube of him literally saying that he was a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler. Okay? If that's not weird. Okay, talk about British people. We got Ozzy Osbourne. Wrote Mr. Crowley. Bit the head off of Bat, worshipped Crowley, was a drug fiend, was a psychopath, encouraged immorality. Where does this go to? Goes to Paul McCartney. Okay, well, I don't think that's a good time. Okay, so we have right here Alice Cooper, huge Crowleyite, alcoholic. He was in the drinking group called the Hollywood Vampires with Keith Moon, John Lennon, Harry Nilsson, Alice Cooper, among others. Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. And this place was this group was a little before Bowie's time, but it was in the Rainbow Bar that Bowie frequented in LA. Okay, Hollywood Vampires. That group: Keith Moon, John Lennon, Harry Nilsson, Alice Cooper. Okay, so you fast forward to today, the Hollywood Vampire Band. Who's in that? Johnny Depp. He's into drugs. You have Joe Perry, who is known as one of the Toxic Twins with Steven Tyler and Aerosmith. And you have Alice Cooper. Oh, darn. So Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, Joe Perry. Okay, Johnny Depp, who's this? He was in Tim Burton's movies. Almost all of Tim Burton's most popular movies have starred Johnny Depp. Edward Scissorhands. Batman. Oh wait, Prince wrote the soundtrack to the Batman movie. Why was that a good idea? He wrote it along with Danny Elfman. He was in the Bat Dance video. He was in the he had the Party Man video. And I just thought it was funny that I recently, looking at all this, thought to myself, wow, isn't it kind of funny that a billionaire would choose to dress up like a bat? Either way, it's neither here nor there. Okay, so let's go back to this. Hollywood Vampires. Johnny Depp. He was connected to Prince by Tim Burton. Okay. Johnny Depp played a vampire. Johnny Depp made a video with John Frusciante, recorded a video with John Frusciante called Stuff, which was basically like a psychopathic, drug-addled haze documentary of John Frusciante's fall from grace when he was leaving the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He looked like a vampire around that time, and it's really scary to look at him. It's a pretty good video, an interview with V-Pro in the 90s where he plays some pretty crazy songs, and it's interesting. But John Frusciante was in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex and Magic, their most popular album. Magic is an obvious Crowley reference. Aleister Crowley, drugs. Aleister Crowley, drugs. Okay, so who took John Frusciante's place after the Red Hot Chili Peppers lost him? Dave Navarro. In an interview from One Hot Minute, which is one of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' worst albums, but that's neither here nor there. In an interview with Dave Navarro with Kennedy, they do it in a coffin, and he sleeps in a coffin. The other members of the band of Red Hot Chili Peppers referred to him as a scary drug addict. Scary drug addict. And who is he married to? Carmen Electra. What did Carmen Electra do? She starred in a Prince music video. Great. So we're back to Prince. Now go back to the Hollywood Vampires. Keith Moon died of drug overdose. John Lennon shot. John Lennon is connected to Paul McCartney. Sgt. Pepper's album cover had Aleister Crowley as like the second person that they had on the cover, and they said that was a group of people that they admired. So they admire Aleister Crowley. Paul McCartney promoted LSD with his song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Paul McCartney is connected to Kanye West. Kanye West did a song with Paul McCartney and Rihanna called 4 or 5 Seconds. Kanye West did a song with Jay-Z Nicki Minaj, Rick Ross, called Monster. The first lyric of Monster says, "I'm a no-good bloodsucker," and there's quite a few references to vampirism in Monster. And what does that have anything to do with it? Model Damaris Lewis was one of the monsters in this video. And she was seen with Prince at a basketball game. There's a picture of her in one of the last Rolling Stone magazines that came out after his death. And she was at Prince's cremation. So Kanye West is connected to Prince through Damaris Lewis. And she even looks like a vampire. In the video, in the picture of her with Prince at the game, at the basketball game, she is wearing a long black trench coat with some kind of Egyptian looking necklace, and she just looks like she has no facial expression. She's just dead inside. It's crazy. Okay, so let's go to Kanye West. Back to Kanye West. Back to Monster. Nicki Minaj. She said she has 15 personalities. She has this alter ego called Roman Zelensky. They did a exorcism of Roman on TV. Roman Zelensky is an obvious reference to Roman Polanski, who is a horror movie director, and he directed one of the scariest films of all time, Rosemary's Baby. And he was also a satanic pedophile. So why would Nicki Minaj be interested in representing a satanic pedophile? That's strange. You know who else is a satanic pedophile? Nicole Kidman's father. Okay. So this is going to come full circle over here. So go back up. We're going to stop right there over on this side. So go back up. Okay, so we're back to drugs. We go up to Gene Simmons. His character in Kiss is the Beast. And if you look at his outfit, he very clearly has bat wings. Bat wings hanging down below his arms. And in his concerts, he does this ritual where he drinks blood, spits it out, and then spits fire. And it's all like very they put a big focus on him during this part of the show. It's almost as if it's the point of the whole concert is to watch him drink the blood. Well, anyways, after Prince died, Mickey Free did an interview about Prince and said he was introduced to Michael Jackson by Gene Simmons and Diana Ross. Apparently Gene Simmons produced a lot of his first albums or first live shows because Gene Simmons was on break from Kiss. Okay, so Gene Simmons knew Michael Jackson. Okay, so why would some rocker know this R&B guy? I don't know. Maybe they're both connected because they're vampires. Maybe. Gene Simmons also introduced Mickey Free to Prince. Okay. So Gene Simmons, his band was called KISS, which stands for Knights in Satan's Service, so that goes back to Crowley. Talking about Prince and Michael, Prince turned down Bad and MJ in an interview with Chris Rock. Prince says that, you know that Wesley Snipes character? Yeah, that would have been me. Okay, who's Wesley Snipes? He's the guy that played the Black Vampire in Blade. Okay. I guess Prince didn't want another vampire. I guess Prince is a top vampire because Michael would have said your butt is mine to him, and he didn't want that. So, we go there. Now, we go back up to David Bowie. Last music video is Black Star. So Bowie's over here with all that other stuff, right? Last music video is Black Star. Who directed that movie? The British guy Christopher Nolan. And a lot of this over here is in this great guy Josh Reeves' video called Secret Messages in Black Star. And that was really great, but he made this video before Prince died, so I doubt he had the chance to make any of these connections. But what did Christopher Nolan... What else did he direct? Okay, he directed the Dark Knight trilogy. So that goes back to Prince, Bowie, Nolan, Batman, Prince, Bowie, vampire. Bowie was a vampire. He played a vampire. This goes back to Tim Burton, because Tim Burton directed the Batman movie. Oh, what else did he produce? He also produced Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. See, these people all seem to have a very keen interest in vampires even before they became super hot and sexy, thanks to Robert Pattinson. Okay, so yeah. Bowie's connected to the guy that directed the Dark Knight trilogy. What else did he direct? He also directed Interstellar. What does that talk about? It talks about a black star or a black hole. A black star is also known as Sirius, the star Sirius in ancient in mystery symbology. And that goes to Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman played Sirius Black in the Harry Potter movies. The Harry Potter movie, Sirius Black is a guy that shapeshifts into a black wolf. And what did Gary Oldman do? He sang on David Bowie's album, song You've Been Around. Okay, that's interesting. Gary Oldman produced Jack White, who is a nocturnal, pale-skinned, handsome, always hanging out with gorgeous women, wrote an album called Get Behind Me, Satan. Gary Oldman plays in The Dark Knight. Oh, so... Okay, yeah, let me direct this movie for you, Gary Oldman, and then you can be on David Bowie's song, and then I can direct David Bowie's thing, and it'll be just a huge clusterfuck. It'll be great, and we'll all talk about vampires the whole time while being vampires, while sucking everybody's blood. Oh wait, the Dark Knight trilogy. Guess who was a production designer on that? Nathan Crowley, the nephew of Aleister Crowley. So we've gone back all the way from here to here. It's like it's just a big like, there's a lot of lines that aren't on here. There's a lot of information that has been left out. L.A. Reid, who is Prince's, like, one of Prince's best friends, I've looked into him, and he is definitely into some weird Freemasonic occult shit like this. Okay, so Gary Oldman, this is really interesting. Plays in the Dark Knight. Was in one of David Bowie's videos called The Next Day. And in this, he played a Catholic priest. Okay, so Gary Oldman was also in The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element was about an alien race trying to stop a black star from smashing into the Earth. The Fifth Element is a human that was resurrected from the inside of a sarcophagus. Okay, and this brings us back to Harry Potter that Gary Oldman was in. Gary Oldman plays Harry Potter, plays Sirius Black in Harry Potter. Alan Rickman played Snape in Harry Potter. Alan Rickman played in Galaxy Quest as a character named Lazarus, which is one of the songs on David Bowie's album. We come back and remember that? That's the David Bowie Rises from the Dead. And Alan Rickman got to start with Bruce Willis, who starred in The Fifth Element. And Alan Rickman also died 4 days after David Bowie at the same age of 69, which is the symbol of cancer, which is of significance because they were both cancers and they died of cancer at the same age. And Lazarus was resurrected 4 days after he died by Jesus. And he died, Alan Rickman died 4 days after Bowie at the same age. Okay. So now we go down here. Christopher Nolan directed Interstellar, which has to do with... It was heavily influenced by Stanley Kubrick. In the music video for Black Star by David Bowie, you see a skeleton floating towards a black star, which represents... which is something you see in Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. You see some obelisks off in the distance, which is a reference to 2001 A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick produced, or was the director of Eyes Wide Shut, and he was killed, supposedly, for exposing the elites with this movie. And who are the main stars in Eyes Wide Shut? Nicole Kidman's father, Tom Cruise. Eyes Wide Shut is a film about secret societies of elites having ritualistic sex parties. Okay, sorry about that. Tom Cruise was a Scientologist, which was started by L. Ron Hubbard, which goes back to Aleister Crowley, because L. Ron Hubbard's mentor was Aleister Crowley. Scientology has Superpowers Facility, which is some of these things. They try to awaken these things in the people. That, Prince seemed to have superpowers. Apparently, one of the few movies that Prince music played in was a Tom Cruise movie, the one with the underwear dance, I'm pretty sure. Tom Cruise played Vampire Lestat, or one of the vampires. I don't know if it's Lestat, but he played the vampire in Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Who else played in that? Brad Pitt. Who's he married to? Angelina Jolie. She played Maleficent. Also, she had a hysterectomy. I wonder what that could have anything to do with it. Maybe it's the fact that she doesn't want to lose her blood. And she just wants to suck it. Okay, so Tom Cruise. He was in Top Gun. That was directed by Tony Scott. Ridley Scott directed Alien, which heavily influenced Christopher Nolan for Interstellar. Alien also starred Sigourney Weaver, which I just found out had the same tailor as Prince and David Bowie and all these cokeheads. I mean, everywhere you go in here, it's like, how could this be so blatant? Alright, so that's that for this video. In my next video, I'm gonna try to explain why I think this is a normal thing.